Hey guys, what is happening? I'm doing something a little bit different today, talking about some tips and tricks I learned when doing my first kit bash and how I got to be completely obsessed with kit bashing as a hobby. So if you like this sort of like shorter tips and tricks types of videos, let me know by throwing a like and keep subscribed if you want to see some more hobby content, because I definitely want to make some more of it. If you're getting into kit bashing, or at least when I was researching and coming up with plans and projects that I wanted to make, it can be really intimidating. You don't necessarily know where to start all the time. Usually, if you're a hobbyist and you decide you want to kit bash something, that might start out just because you don't like the certain look of a model, or you want to make something a little bit more unique, a little bit more personalized. And that's all, totally valid reasons. There's probably a bunch of other reasons as well that are also totally valid. Whatever your reason is for wanting to kit bash, that's awesome. Go for it. But I do think that there are some things you can do early on to sort of help guide you into the process and to ease the sort of overwhelming nature of what projects that include kit bashing could include. The first one of those is to make a plan. In my case, I was making, Warhammer miniatures that would be used on the tabletop game. So that meant that I had to know exactly what size that the models they were supposed to represent were, so I could have an accurate substitution for my kit bash. Doing that kind of research can really help, not only to give you a head start in terms of planning your project, but it also helps constrain your choices. Because if you're looking for kit bashing parts, there's a whole lot of models out there to use. And without some sort of constraint, it can be a real sort of paralysis of choice situation. So having a plan is really important. Know the size of the thing you're trying to build and know the size of the components that you want to make the thing out of. Just having that plan together, super helpful. Although it's also super valid and okay to just go through your bit box and see whatever feels right. You don't always need to work with a plan, but if you're starting out, it can definitely help to have a planned project or two to help sort of dip your toes into this large and intimidating field. The second tip I would give to people starting out kit bashing is keep it simple. As you can see in this video here, this is me kit bashing some Electro Priests for my Depsis Mechanicus army. And all it is an arm swap, Do a head swap, do a weapon swap, do something like that. Change one thing about a model. And that's a kit bash, and that's a valid kit bash. And then you have done a kit bash, you've completed a project. It just helps you get that little bit of confidence that you might need to tackle something a little bit more difficult next time and gradually increase the challenge and complexity of your kit bashing projects until hopefully one day you're slinging green stuff like nobody's business. I'm not even there yet, but I hope to be one day. So yeah, definitely keep it simple. It really helps to just do a very simple project early on. Then you can say that you've done a kit bash. You know a little bit of what it entails, some of the things that you might have not expected. For me, this project had a lot of shaving of parts down to get them to fit right, because in a kit bash, these are parts that are not really made to go together. So I didn't really think about that beforehand. I knew it would somewhat have to be a thing. I just didn't think of how prominent it would be. So yes, keeping it simple, having a plan, two great tips. So let's say that you've done a couple of head swaps. You've done a couple of weapon swaps. You want to get a little bit more ambitious. You want to get a little bit more complex with your projects. But before you were doing that, did you remember to organize your bits? We all have bits boxes, or we should, especially if you're into kit bashing. you probably have some sort of bits box. Spend some time, go through it, make sure it's well organized. I have mine organized to have Mechanicus bits all in one spot, and that's broken down into heads, weapons, special weapons, characters, other just sort of like little greeblies and accessories. And that way I can just go through, find the bag that has the stuff, or at least the category that I need, and it becomes so much easier to just find that thing. It's a massive time saver. And if you're rummaging through your bits box and it's not organized, you're gonna spend way longer to find what you need than you would have spent organizing it in the first place. So keep your bits box highly organized as much as possible, really. There is no level of granularity that is too organized for a bits box. And then the last tip really is just do it. Just get started. Just do it, man. You're watching this video, you could be kitbashing right now. Well, if you have the parts with you. But everybody has to start somewhere, but you have to actually start in order to start somewhere. You know, it can be a little bit scary gluing stuff together that's not supposed to go together. What if you mess up? What if this or that or X or Y? Some of that stuff is gonna happen, and some of it is not gonna happen. You know, during this project I chipped a couple of their arms off because I wasn't expecting the arm's material, the plastic of that arm, to be as kind of rigid as it was. I was used to the more bendy Games Workshop plastics, but it ended up not really mattering. They fit in just fine, and I didn't even need to cover anything up. So yeah, of course mistakes are gonna happen, but you just gotta roll with the punches. You know, green stuff exists for a reason, milliput exists for a reason. There are ways to solve every problem that comes during kitbashing. And you're going to have problems, and you're going to need to find out a way to solve them. But none of that's gonna happen if you don't start kitbashing. So that's what I have to say to you today. 1, have a plan. 2, keep it simple. 3, keep those bits boxes organized. And finally, number 4, just freaking do it, dude. What are you waiting for? Waiting for this video to be over? Alright, it's over. But if you enjoyed these sort of tips that I found helpful when I was starting to get into kitbashing, make sure you throw a subscription my way. It really helps me out. I plan to do more sort of in-depth kitbashing videos, and maybe even some tutorials on specific kitbashes that I do that you might find interesting or useful as well. So definitely throw a subscription if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. Throw a like on this video. And for the comments, why don't you tell me what your first kitbash was? What did you do to make your dudes a little bit more your dudes? And I'll see y'all next week. Peace.